I'd much rather pay to learn a lesson with my money than with my time. Cashed out my 401k, IRA. I was taking out any business card that I could. At one point, we were like $45,000 in credit card debt.
Landon went into this business like, I want to make this happen. I want to make this happen fast. And that's why he took on what a lot of people would look at as risk.
So I'm averaging 30,000 profit per deal that I have.
Every business, every entrepreneurship venture, like there are hard times.
You know, I had done so much research that if I keep sending this mail and I'm keep staying consistent with it, like the only way that I can fail on this is if I quit.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm your host, Ron Apke, joined by my co-host today, Anthony Weiler, and a guest student coming from Toledo, Ohio, Landon Blue. Landon, really excited to have you on here. Landon's been with us, I think about 6-7 months. He's had unbelievable success. He's taken a lot of risk chances in this, which he's going to talk about here. And he's really taken this business on full force where I think he could probably, if he wanted to, he could leave his job today and be comfortable. But Landon, happy to have you here. Just talk about your experience starting in land investing.
Definitely. Yeah. So it was kind of right after I graduated college, graduated a finance degree, kind of started working the W-2 right away. And when I started doing that, I was very interested in real estate and kind of got, started investing in real estate within like 6 months. I think I had bought my first property after graduating college. And, from there, I started burning properties, house hacking other properties. And when I was burning these properties, a normal day for me was waking up at like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, going and laying floors for call it 2 to 3 hours before I'd actually go to my W-2, go to the W-2, then kind of come back and lay floors, start painting, whatever I actually needed done at the time. And I was getting these big equity boosts and net worth boosts at the time, but net worth doesn't really actually do anything for you. Okay. You kind of need that cash flow. So at the time I had decided to start looking for either starting a business or buying a business, and did a whole lot of research on, a ton of different businesses that I was doing. And what I had actually decided on, mainly because I hadn't heard of land investing before, was doing a service-based business roll-up with a planned exit to private equity. And kind of as I started looking into that and actually starting to work on that, I had heard Ron on Brian's podcast, the Action Academy, and started talking about land investing. And I was like, this sounds way too good to be true. So ended up doing a whole lot of research on land investing, ended up buying the course and, kind of just with land investing. I mean, you can start it, very easily while doing your W-2. You can start it, it's very low investment to actually start this business. There's unlimited funding in it, right? When you're actually doing real estate, a lot of times you need kind of that proven track record to actually go get some money. I remember the first deal that I submitted to you guys for funding. Within 20 minutes, I think I got a call from Anthony, and then within 90 minutes after that, Dan gave final approval, and I had, $60,000 that you guys were willing to spend on this with absolutely no experience at all. So that's what got me very interested in land investing at the beginning.
That's awesome. So you listened to us you listened to me on a podcast, and like, what was that timeline? You said you heavy in research as far as looking at other programs, seeing if this is legit. What did that kind of timeline look like? What was that kind of for you mentally as well?
Yeah, so the timeline in terms of research, I spent the money right away, bought the course and joined the community right away, but started looking at other people's. I was willing to join 5 courses. Once I heard about land investing, it was just the best business opportunity, and I had done research for months. It was the best business opportunity that I could possibly find, and I still think it is. I've heard of people doing all different kinds of business. I still think this is the number one business opportunity. So I joined, I think it was probably like August timeframe, but then I ended up getting married in September, and we did a lot of moving and traveling right after that. So I started mailing. It was November of 2023, which had been almost 6 months to the day ago from when we were recording this.
So you're working full-time W-2 still, correct?
Correct. Yep.
And your wife is a traveling physical therapist?
Yep, correct.
So, and you guys are always on the road. Do you guys have a home? Like, where would you call home? Yeah,
so we'd call home. We do have a house in Toledo, Ohio, but it's more for tax purposes. I guess we come home. We're here for maybe call it 2 to 3 weeks out of the year, I would say.
In Toledo?
Wow.
Correct.
Wow, that's wild. So you guys are, and is it like 3 months? You said 3 months. Is that how long you guys are usually in locations?
Yep. So we started right after we got married. We were in North Carolina, and then we've been in Colorado since February. And later today, we're going to Cape Cod for the summer.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And it's kind of providing you the freedom that this business model can. Obviously, you're still working a remote W-2, but it's really your wife's job that's kind of giving you the ability to visit these places. That's really amazing. So talk about your first kind of 6 months. I mean, you are only about 6-7 months into this. Talk about, or 8 maybe. Talk about your first 6-8 months, how it's going, what kind of deals you've done so far. What was that like in your first deal?
Definitely, yeah. So right from the beginning, I was very aggressive in starting out. Once I had kind of the education that I needed, I felt extremely confident in this business, and I cashed out my 401k, IRA. I was taking out any business card that I could. At one point, we were like $45,000 in credit card debt, kind of getting this business up and going and off the ground, because I believed in it so much. I didn't see it, as a risk necessarily. I felt extremely confident. There was thousands of other people doing it. It's very systematic, where you can, pull some data, price it, send it out, and answer the phone when people call back. So it was very easy to do that. But I started mailing in November, and then I didn't get my first deal till the end of January. And by that time, I had sent maybe 10 to 15, maybe a little bit more, 1,000 mailers out. But I ended up getting my first deal that was a buy for 30 or 31, and ended up selling that one for 75. But that first, I would say 4 to 5 months was very tough for me. I had only that one deal. It was really in the last month or two that I have 9 total deals, and the other 8 came from the last month or two. I got them under contract. 3 of them I've seen full cycle, so bought it and sold it. 2 of them I've purchased and have listed. I have my another one closing early next week, and then I have 3 others under contract.
So, in that $45,000 credit card debt, some of that was for that first deal. Is that correct?
No, so that was all mail. So I had taken a personal loan to fund the.
So you're in $76,000 of debt.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow, that's wild. And then you got that check. How was that like getting that first check for 75? Is that a proof of concept, or did you already believe in it before you got that check for $75,000, or where kind of were you mentally at that point?
Yeah, so again, right from the get-go, I didn't see this as a risk at all. I was so confident that it was going to work, and I had, I had done so much research that it was like, if I keep sending this mail and I'm keep staying consistent with it, like the only way that I can fail on this is if I quit.
Yeah.
There was just no other way that I could fail. Even like I'm not the best pricer. I'm very mediocre at pricing. I'm average at best at sales. But if you're consistent in getting that mail out, the deals are going to come through. So, even when I was like, call it like March timeframe, I had one deal and spent, 40,000, maybe 30,000 at that time. Wow. But I didn't care. I was just like, the business in itself is like, a multiplier of money, right? You put like $1 in and you get, essentially a 5x return on ad spend. Yeah. So if I could get, a dump truck full of money, dump it in this machine, I'm going to get, 5x as much on the back end. So that's kind of why I was very aggressive from the start, spent a lot of money. I was very consistent in getting my mail out. So it was every single Wednesday, mail had to be sent out. Even if it was 10:30 at night and I didn't send my mail, I wasn't going to bed that night until the mail got sent out. You learn very quickly to do it, before Wednesday once you stay up one of those nights. But yeah, I was very consistent in getting the mail out.
It's so key and it's so easy to like skip a week or like make an excuse like why this mail shouldn't go out, or maybe I'm too busy on something else. And you said before this that you talked to Landon first in December. So you joined in August. You obviously got married, so there's a little bit of lag time. You first talked to Landon in December. What was kind of your thoughts on his mindset, everything like that, getting started? Because he's saying it's not risk, but it is risk, and it's more risk for some people. A lot of risk is how you look at it. And Landon's mindset towards risk is very good in terms of like, this is going to work. I'm going to make this work. But talk about that first conversation.
Yeah, the biggest thing with all of our phone calls, especially when you were first starting off, because it took some time for you to get that first deal, was it's just your mindset. Like you said with your stories, you were all in right from the beginning. And the conversations that we'd have is like, hey, haven't got anything just yet. This is what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to do texting follow-ups. I'm looking to increase my mailer, because we had a conversation. You were pricing like 35% of market value at first. And I have conversations with plenty of other people, and there's times where they'll just give up after their first few mailers, which it's unfortunate, but your mindset and just your attitude, you're like, okay, this is what's working. This is not what's not working. Anthony, can you take a look at this deal And it was always just really refreshing to talk to you, and just seeing that the results are definitely showing for it. And I'm curious, I wanted to ask you too, was there you spent around what you said, $35,000 to $40,000 before getting that first deal. Did you have a number to where like, if I don't get a deal, that's it? Or were you just like, you're just putting everything you have into it?
Yeah, I mean, if Visa or MasterCard cut me off, then I was gonna be out of money. But until then, I mean, it was like my wife was working. Like we skipped Christmas presents so that we could send out mail this year. Oh, well, it would have been last year. But like any dollar that we could find, it was like I would use all my personal credit cards. I used, all these business credit cards. And cashed out the 401k. It was, and I had maybe $40,000 or $50,000 in there that I was able to use for deal funding, and then also kind of keep the credit cards, at ease until we could actually get the money in, and then actually pay them off on the back end.
I love it.
And to kind of preface, like Landon went into this business like, I want to make this happen. I want to make this happen fast. And that's why he took on what a lot of people would look at as risk. You don't need $40,000 to start this business, but you started 10,000 mailers right away. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
10,000 mailers per month. Every Wednesday you're doing 2,500 or about?
Yeah, so I was doing 2,000. So I guess when I first started, I was sent 10,000 in kind of that first batch that I did, and then quickly ramped up to 10,000. I think May or maybe it was March was the first month that I actually sent 10,000 or close to 10,000.
Yeah. You said earlier that your first mailer, you had some mistakes on it as far as grammatical mistakes. You said you had some Excel formatting that went off. Talk about that kind of mistake, how you still got a deal from one of the 7,000 mailers, but just talk about that.
Definitely. Yeah. So the code that you actually put on the mailers, if it's like, you can customize your codes to however you want, but I just followed exactly as the education. So it's the first two letters of the county, the state, and then, a number. I had that exact same number for all the mailers that I was doing. So people would call back and give me the code, and I was like, shoot, all these codes are the same. I messed up someplace. So then I would, try to go off the name, or, I'd call the person back and be like, do you have that parcel number that you might be able to give me? So it was definitely a learning curve right there. And I had a grammatical error later on in the contract. Someone called back, and a lot of the times, the majority of calls you get back are going to be hate calls. And someone's like, you can't even spell, because or whatever the word was, right, or something like that. So yeah, it was definitely, I started very aggressive from the start. But I don't have any regrets. Again, like I said, I got one deal out of that 7,000 mailers. And I had mentioned it earlier, but I'd much rather pay to learn a lesson with my money than with my time. So I'd rather start very aggressive, get all those mailers out, realize there was a mistake on the back, still have the chance of getting one of those mailers to actually land a deal, rather than starting, with $3,000 or $5,000, which is totally possible to start with. It's just going to be a slower ramp up period.
So you said 9 deals kind of in the pipeline. How many deals have you sold so far?
Yes, so I've sold 3.
Okay. Break down those 9 deals, I guess, and what the numbers look like for one. I don't think we've talked about what the projected profit looks like. Talk about how you got them as well.
Yep. So 9 total deals. So I've bought and sold 3. I've bought 2 others that are currently listed. I have one that I'm going to buy, should be Monday or Tuesday next week. And then I actually just accepted a sales agreement on a double close. So that should be closing in, hopefully 3 or 4 weeks. There'll be some financing needed on that. But total projected profit on those 9 deals is $260,000. Of that $260,000, $75,000 has been realized so far on the 3 sales that I have. So I'm averaging, close to $30,000 profit per deal that I have. And that is pretty much, I would say I've averaged probably 8,000 mailers per month, and then about 10 to 20,000 texts per month to get those 9 deals in the first 6 months. And then in July, we're actually doubling everything. So we're going to be 20,000 mailers a month, 50,000 texts per month.
That's a big ramp up. What's kind of your plan for that? Why July? What's the reason behind that?
Yeah, so I just hired a pricing analyst, and it's a very, very hard position to train. So it's going to take probably a couple months to actually train them and get them up to full speed on how to do all the different pricing and looking at the different zip codes and that kind of thing. So it's going to take a little bit of time there, but I also just love like quarter splits. So I don't know if you've ever read the 12-week year, but I kind of plan the year as as if it's a quarter. So I have my plans for this quarter already. So that's why July As I mentioned, there's about 260,000 in total deal profit, assuming everything goes as it should. So current trajectory for the full year this year should be probably 600 to 800,000 if I don't change anything. And then just to clarify, it'll take about $150,000 to do that 600 to 800 in profit. So net profit will be like 450 to 650. And again, that's if I don't change anything, but I really want to hit the $1 million this year. I just think it'd be cool. There's no really other good reason other than I think it'd be cool. So that's why we're changing in July, is just double everything to see what systems break, where we might need to hire somebody, where something's going wrong, different things that we can tweak in the business to fix it so that we can, hit that 7-figure mark hopefully this year.
How long has that data analyst been with you so far?
Probably 3 weeks, I think, as of
Full
today.
time?
So it'd been started at 4 hours a day for now, and then we're going to get him up to full time.
Is that overseas?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So, damn, you got a lot going on. That's awesome. Yeah. And scaling up, I don't think anyone in our community is sending 50,000 texts. Talk about 50,000 texts, 20,000 mail. The texts are all follow-up, guys. So he's sending mail and then following up with them a few weeks later. But talk about kind of your monthly expenses. Like as you're scaling up, you're hiring too. So I assume you have another VA. I assume you're going to up their hours when you're sending 50,000 texts. But talk about your monthly expenses once you do kind of hit July.
Yep. So I'm using Land Portal now for data. So I think with I have the higher plans. I think it's maybe 6 or 8 cents per data. And then I'm paying, I think it's like 65 cents for mail. So, you scrub out some of the data and then there's maybe a little bit of processing fee on the mail. So I'm close to 75 cents per mailer. So on 20,000 mailers, it's going to be $15,000 a month. And then launch control to get up to 50,000 texts per month is about $1,400. And then there's going to be some skip tracing costs associated with this, some increased labor cost, Pat Live. The bill's probably going to go through the roof here soon once I actually start sending that much mail and people are starting to call back. So I would say it would probably be about $20,000 a month in operating expenses.
And you have a potential for, I would assume, like you're trying to hit $1 million with that. So I assume you're like targeting 100 grand profit a month once everything kind of is up and running. Is that what you're thinking?
Yep, exactly. And my average deal so far has been about $30,000 in profit. So need to hit, call it between 3 to 4 deals a month. And I'm averaging about 1 deal per 4,000 mailers. So assuming I continue that trajectory, should be getting about 5 deals a month. If the profit drops a little bit, maybe down to 20,000, but still should hopefully target, the $100,000 a month. And that's why I really care about, all I care about is the lead metrics. The lag metrics are what they are. So I'll, if the lag metrics start telling me something different, then I'll adjust the lead metrics to, kind of follow suit to hit that, close to 100,000 a month.
Interesting. I wanted to get into that a little bit because when you're doing that much, like you don't want to evaluate every single mailer, what's going on with every single mailer. Like when do you stop and like, okay, let's look at what happened the last 30 days. Let's look if I can make some adjustments. Like what's your time period for like analyzing the past results?
Yeah, so truthfully, I haven't done a ton of that.
You're just hitting the mail send button.
It's just the mail send button. As I mentioned before, I don't think I'm that good at pricing. I'm not that good at sales, average at best. So what I've been good at is being consistent. So every single Wednesday, my mail's going out no matter what. So I haven't really looked back on it yet. I'll have to start doing that once I have this pricing analyst to see, if they're overpricing or underpricing or something like that. So it'll probably be, I'll probably do it on the front end, give them a lot of feedback on the front end before the mail actually goes out because of how expensive it is. I don't want to have something be messed 100%. Up on the front end. But then, again, I just kind of used your guys' lag metrics and then built my own lead metrics, assuming I was probably about half as good as you guys. So if you're getting 1 deal per 2,500 mailers, I assumed I'd get 1 deal per 5,000 mailers. So that's kind of how I built everything out. And then we'll start, analyzing stuff. Once you're spending $20,000 a month, you need to be analyzing probably a little bit more than I am. So we'll definitely start that. Yeah, probably in, once the mail's actually hitting. And, I don't consider a mailer to go full cycle now until I've texted the number to actually see how successful it was.
So you're full-time W-2. You're doing incredible volume in terms of this. Like, how are you doing this? What does your day look like? Is it just a time efficiency thing, or is it just you're working a ton, or both? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I would say I'm probably working a ton right now, but I think it's temporary. I would say, right now, when I was in Colorado, I was waking up at 6 and starting mail and starting my W-2. But I probably work 12 to 15 hours a day right now, but not on the weekends.
Yeah.
I would say, maybe a few hours in on the weekends, and then probably 12 to 15 hours a day during the weekdays. But again, that's temporary. I'm doing a lot of training right now. The pricing analysis is very hard position to train. And then we're kind of ramping everything. So I know systems are going to be breaking. I might need to hire a sales manager or something like that. But as of right now, I don't have any kids or, it's not too hard to work, 15 hours a day.
Yeah, I think once you hit that 20,000, 50,000, 20,000 mail, 50,000 text, like I'm sure a sales manager, something like that. Where do you think because you keep saying you're not good at stuff, but you seem to be good at a lot. Where do you think you're kind of, what would be the first position that you hired? Because right now you're hiring a pricing analyst. Outside of that, like what would be the next thing? Is it a reason, something that you're not good at or not as good as you think you are at, or is it something that would be saving you more time? Like where's your next hire looking like in your mind?
Yeah, so next hire is for sure going to be a cold caller. So out of the 9 deals that I've done, 4 of them have been because of the follow-up text. So that second point of contact has been massive for me. The majority of that $260,000 in profit have come from those 4 text deals too. I mean, probably just by coincidence, but I would say 150,000 of that has come from the text mail follow-up. So I want a third point of contact. So I want to be doing cold calls. I have all the data, and at the point that I've texted them, I've already paid for skip tracing. So now we have the data, we have the phone numbers.
Give them a call.
Just give them a call. So I think a third point of contact is my next hire. After that, I've been thinking about a few different positions. So potentially a transaction coordinator to actually manage this stuff and be better and more consistent at it, but then also potentially a salesperson.
Yeah, and I think if you do that volume, when you do that volume, you're going to have the money to reinvest and then to keep growing the business because you have good, like you're just implementing stuff and just that's what we do in the course. Like we teach mail, we teach text follow up. Some people like pick and choose what to do. Are you doing anything different? Adding a cold caller is definitely that third point of contact, something we're currently not teaching, but it just makes sense. Is there anything else you're doing that's differently? You said you've done some double closing as well?
Yeah, so I've done one double close, and it was, I've done nothing outside of what you guys, teach in the education. I mean, it was like, I would say, at a point of sending 20,000 mailers, I love just kind of the plain old, buy it, listed on the market. Love those ones. But in the future, I would say it's probably subdivide deals, and the land portal is going to be a huge part of that. Every time Dan asks for feedback, I always give him, throw out the, road frontage would be really cool.
We're close on that. We're very, very close on getting that. So when we were talking to our developers on this, and I might get technical on this, but I'm going to. So there are a couple ways to do this, and I think we're actually really close to having like a real solution that is going to give you an actual feet amount on the road. Hopefully I'm not talking too soon, Daniel, but because he's the one that does the developers. So we're close to getting that, and I think the software can recognize that. So obviously being able to target that kind of stuff just gives you so much opportunity to offer more. And then a data analyst provides so much more value to you because, they understand like this 1,000 feet of road frontage, I can cut this up into 200 feet, have 5 parcels that are 4 acres each. And 50% of that is $100,000. 50% of that 20 acre parcel might be $40,000 or something. So you can offer so much more. So excited for that. And it's really cool to see you using all the tools and not doing anything crazy. What I was thinking, Anthony, when he was talking, like we've had this podcast studio for 3 months or so. We've had Justin, Dylan, and now Landon sitting in that chair, and it's all the same thing. Like nothing's different. I'm like Landon. One of them's going to separate themselves, but like the first 6 months are the same damn 6 months for everyone. It's just, did you quit when things got hard or did you not? If you didn't quit when things got hard, stuff works out.
Yeah, it's what we preach all the time too: mindset and consistency. Are you able to push through? And when you do push through, you have success like yourself. And it's just time in and time out. And that's one thing that actually I wanted to ask you was, obviously your mindset, you were willing to push through anything, but was there any like pivotal moment for you where things really just like, that flip just switched and things started really taking off? To me, it sounded like, doing the follow-up text messaging, but were there any like moments for you towards like, it just clicked?
Yeah, so I would say the follow-up text was probably the big one. But it was also like the first deal that I did, I had spent $20 or $30,000 at this point. I can't remember what I ended up doing in that 20 or 30,000. It wasn't like it was just gone. I've still gotten a lot of deals from that money. It just wasn't happened at that time. But it was like the one deal that I got paid off everything, all the expenses, and now I still have 20,000 pieces of mail floating out there that I still gotta go in text. But it was just like the profit potential is this: you can make so many mistakes. I mean, your return on ad spend on this, like I had mentioned, is essentially 5x. So even if this industry gets like twice as competitive and I get one deal for every 8,000 mailers, the 8,000 mailers are going to cost me $6,000. My average profits, $20,000 to $30,000. Like, I'll spend that money all day. It's just, this is a level 10 business where, you can make so many mistakes and still make so much money in it.
Would you suggest for everyone to kind of do text follow-up? Like, is that something, it's so cheap. Like, you have the data. All you need to do is, obviously you need the software, you need some systems, but skip tracing is the main thing that is going to cost another 10 to 12 cents, whatever it is. Would you suggest, like, is that an easy thing to implement for people who are doing 5,000 mailers a month and they want to just follow up? Like, what does that look like?
Definitely. Yeah. So again, the big expense is going to be launch control. So at 20,000 texts, I think it's $800 a month. And then you're going to be spending, call it like 8 to 12 cents. It depends on what software you use. I know the Land Porter just dropped to 9 cents yesterday. But I think it's vital. I mean, the second point of contact, and now hopefully the third point of contact, that's where 4 out of my 9 deals have come from. That's where the majority of my profit has come from. You've already paid for the data. You already paid for the mail, right? Those are the big expenses. Just skip trace it, send out the text. I think it's so worth it to bring these people back around. I typically text them. It's about 10 days before the contract expiration date. So it just brings them back around, gets them interested again. It's so, relatively speaking, you only need really one deal to close for texting to be worth it.
Yeah.
So $8,000 or $800 a month, that's what, $10,000 a year. And then I'm paying a VA probably another $10,000 or $15,000 a year to do all this texting. So, $25,000. If I get one deal from that, which I've already had 4 in 2 months, it's just an investment that's so worth it.
No brainer.
And it separates yourself too. Like I talked about earlier, businesses change, business models change. Like, there was a time when you could send mail and like you just get a contract back in the mail and then you just close it. And things change. Like, adding a different point of contact, like you're talking about, adding a third point of contact with the cold caller is really cool. Talk about a little bit. So, Dylan also was in Action Academy, or is in Action Academy, which is essentially just a networking group. Like, it's not like they're teaching specific things, but there's different cohorts in there in terms of self-storage people, apartment people. Talk about that group. Like, you invested heavily. That is not a cheap group to be a part of, Action Academy with Brian Lubin. Talk about that group and what that's done for you.
Yes, I would say the biggest thing is again the networking. So you're surrounding yourself with people that are doing like massive things. So you almost feel like you need to also like match, kind of like if they're doing big things, you almost feel left out if you're not doing big things too. So it's like you're surrounding yourself with people. And then we have these, different micro tribes. So we have, these different pods that we have accountability with. So when, you make a commitment to yourself, sometimes, if you're not, if you don't share that commitment, obviously a lot of times you can break that commitment and not feel bad about it. But when you actually commit to these things and say, by next Monday, I'm going to have done this. And then you get to that Monday and you don't do that. Like, you can get shamed in the group, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is a good thing because,
100%.
If you're going to commit to something, commit to it, be public about it. And then that's going to hold the feet to the fire. And you're kind of forced to do it. So, and then there's also the networking. So the same thing with the Land Investing Online community. You have people that you can connect with and, know that if I just had 5 failed mailers, like, another guy also, was posting at the same time, hey, I also just had 5 failed mailers, and then we both got a deal, the next month or something like that. So it's good to have kind of that sounding board where people are doing the exact same thing as you. You can bounce a parcel off of them, say, this got a little bit of wetlands. Would you buy this? Would you not buy this? How would you do it? Look at different things from different angles.
Yeah, and that Action Academy group, just being around like-minded people with similar goals, even if the goals are through a different avenue, which a lot of people are doing it through a different avenue in there, just being around people doing big things is such a big thing. that so many people just ignore. And it's probably even harder for you because you're traveling so much. I would think, as far as like, you don't have a set place or a meeting group that I can meet in Toledo, entrepreneurship group. So doing that virtually with these other people who are doing huge things is really, really cool. Any advice, Landon, as we finish up? Any advice kind of on people looking to get in this, people who just got started? Yeah, take it away.
Definitely. So I would say the biggest thing is the first 6 months honestly just suck. You just got to get through it. It's almost like, if you're looking at a curve, it's almost like a V, right? You start up super high. You hear about this, you hear about the potential, people doing big things and, having a lot of success. So you're kind of way up here, but then you actually start doing it. And like the next 6 months was like straight decline. You're spending all this money, getting some deals, trying to figure a lot of things out, in those first 6 months. The first deal that I listed, I chose a really bad realtor that just wouldn't answer his phone. It was hard to get sold. So learned a lot within those first 6 months, but after you kind of hit that, I would say the rock bottom is essentially like that 6 month point. You have to get through the 6 month, and then from there it's upward trajectory. So a lot of deals that I mailed 6 months ago are now reaching out. We have all that data. We can call them. We can hit them with multiple texts, different things like that. So I also know that I shared a lot of successes probably today, but there's been a lot of probably more nights that I've gone to bed frustrated with land than I have. Excited about a deal that went through or something good that happened. So just know that the first 6 months, you just get through it. Be consistent. Whatever you commit to, you don't have to do, 10,000 mailers come out front. If you have $3,000, do whatever that looks like. I challenge you to, maybe tap into the Visa a little bit. But if you don't feel comfortable with that, again, I don't have kids or anything like that. So, I might be a little bit more aggressive and have a bit higher of a risk tolerance, but get through those 6 months and then you'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's that simple, honestly. Like every business, every entrepreneurship venture, like there are hard times. Like it is not easy. In the 6 months, you're learning, you're sending mail, you're learning how to buy land, you're learning how to sell land. Like it is. Like the amount of knowledge that you had and everyone has who does this business model, really any business, for 6 months is incredible. But I'm going to end it there. Anthony, you have any other questions for Landon?
No other questions. Just I know a lot of people have been reaching out to you in the community, then they speak to me and they're just fired up. So I just want to say thank you, and your success shows for it. And I just love seeing you get after it, man, especially just seeing how much you've transformed based off all the conversations that we've had. So it's been a pleasure having you here.
Yeah, we'll get a 12-month update or something from you down the road. Other than that, guys, if you guys have not already, like and follow us on YouTube. If you are listening on Apple or Spotify, share this with a friend. Really helps us spread the word. Other than that, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
As always, thank you for joining. Please do us a huge favor and like and subscribe our YouTube channel and share this with a friend. It really means the world to Ron and I, but more importantly, it could help change the life of someone else. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next episode.